Hello everyone and a very warm welcome to another lesson. In this lesson, we are going to learn about IELTS Writing Task 1. Our writing task is going to be based on a diagram process. In this lesson, we are going to learn how to write body paragraph 2 and body paragraph 3. In the previous lesson, we learned how to write the introduction and the overview. Remember, when it comes to your writing task 1, you should write 4 paragraphs. You should write the introduction, the overview, body paragraph 2, and body paragraph 3. If you would like to have the complete essay, then I recommend that once you have watched how to write body paragraph 2 and body paragraph 3, you watch the other video that I have already uploaded on how to write the introduction and the overview of this particular essay. Now, before we begin our lesson, I would like to give you some information about IELTS Writing Task 1. The first thing that is important to remember is that you get 20 minutes to write your Task 1. 20 minutes. You should write more than 150 words. Your Task 1 is worth about 33% of your total writing marks. When it comes to your writing task 1, you will be marked on task achievement, that is, how well and how fully you respond to the question. You will also be marked on coherence and cohesion, how you organize your paragraphs, how you use connectors to link your ideas within the paragraphs. You will also be marked on vocabulary, and finally, you will be marked on grammar. That is task achievement, coherence and cohesion, vocabulary, and grammar. When it comes to IELTS Writing Task 1, the academic students write a report. And the report could be based on a chart, for example, a bar chart, a line graph, a pie chart, a table, a map, or a diagram like we're going to look at in this lesson. But on the other hand, when it comes to the general training student, your task 1 is a letter. You're only expected to write a letter. Now that we have all the details that are important to know about writing task 1, then let's begin our lesson. But before we do that, have you subscribed to the channel? If you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? I guarantee you, if you subscribe to my channel, you will receive extremely helpful English lessons that are going to help you to improve your level of English. I upload videos not just about IELTS writing and speaking, but in my channel, you can find videos about grammar, you can find videos about vocabulary, you can also find videos about pronunciation, and I even have videos that will help you to speak English in different situations. For example, how to speak with someone that you have just met in English, how to speak to your neighbor in English when you meet them outside, how to speak to the doctor in English. I even have videos about how to speak English when you go to the hairdresser, and when you go to the optician, even when you go shopping. So have a look at my playlist. Once you have watched this video, have a look at my playlist, have a look at all the videos that I have in my channel, especially the older videos, and you will find extremely helpful videos. Now let's get into our lesson. The very first thing that you should do once you have received your task 1 is to read the question. That is extremely important. Have a look at the information that IELTS has provided you with. In our case, we are told that the diagram on the left shows how coal is used to generate electricity. How coal is used to generate electricity. So once you have read that information, the next thing that you should do is to have a look at the diagram. The most important thing to do at this point is to look at the diagram and ask yourself, where does the process begin and where does the process end? Once you have identified where the process begins, in our case, we can see the process begins with coal. So I would write number 1 there, because you want to write numbers that will help you to understand the steps of the diagram. So have a look at the diagram and then write down numbers for each step. So coal will be step 1. We write number 1. And then the coal goes through the pulverizer, which is a grinder. So that would be step number 2. And then it ends up in the furnace. That would be step number 3. And then we have the turbine. That would be the next step, step number 4. We have the generator, step number 5. We have the transformer, step number 6. We have the power lines, step number 7. And we even have a cooler below the turbine. That's the last step when the process repeats itself again. So that would be the last number. So at this point, once you have looked at the diagram and you have identified where the process begins and where it ends, then it's very simple for you to write the process. So you go into your body paragraph 1 and then you write what you're supposed to write there. If you want to know more about how to write body paragraph 1, then have a look at my video that I've already uploaded about that. Once you have written the introduction, then you write the overview. It is extremely important that you write an overview. That is what the examiner is looking for you to get a high band. In the previous video, I explained in details how to write the overview. Once you have written the introduction and the overview, then you want to write body paragraph 2. Now, what do you put in body paragraph 2 and what do you put in body paragraph 3? The secret is you need to divide the steps. In our case, we saw step 1 is coal, step 2 is pulverizer, step 3 is furnace, step 4 is the turbine, step 5 is the generator, step 6 is the transformer, and power lines is step 7, and we have the cooler as step 8. So we have in total about 8 different steps. How coal is used to generate electricity. We have about 8 steps. So I would recommend that in body paragraph 2, you write about half of the steps. And then in body paragraph 3, you explain the rest of the steps. So that's the secret of determining what to put in which body paragraph. Divide the whole process into steps and then write the first part of the steps in body paragraph 2 and then explain the rest of the steps or the rest of the process in body paragraph 3. Let's see how we do it. So we begin body paragraph 2 with a connector. Remember, you're explaining a process, so you need to use linking words or connectors. And in my essay, I have underlined all the linking words for you in blue. In the first instance, you can use in the first instance or you can use in the first place. or first. Okay, so introduce the first step. In the first instance, coal is ground into fine powder as it passes through the pulverizer. So far, I have mentioned coal. Remember, coal was our first step. I have explained that it is ground. To grind, ground is the past tense of grind. To grind is to crush. Remember, this is a Band 9 essay, so I have to use advanced vocabulary. So coal is ground. It is crushed into fine powder, that is very, very, very small particles. As you can see in the diagram, it is being crushed as it passes through the pulverizer. The pulverizer is almost like a grinder. So in the very first instance, coal is ground into fine powder as it passes through. Very important phrasal verb to remember, passes through, as it passes through the pulverizer, ending up in the furnace. So far I have mentioned the first step, coal. Next one, pulverizer. 3, furnace. Okay, so in the first instance, coal is ground or crushed into fine powder as it passes through the pulverizer. So it passes through the pulverizer and it ends up in the furnace. Okay, it ends up in the furnace. What happens in the furnace? Where it is burned at very high temperatures. Okay, it is burned at very high temperatures. So as you can see so far in body paragraph 2, I have described the process in 3 steps. Coal is ground into fine powder, then it passes through the pulverizer and it ends up in the furnace. What happens in the furnace? It is burned at very high temperatures. As a result, heat energy is generated, which converts the water in the pipes. You can see in the furnace we have pipes and we have fire there. Okay, heat energy that is generated once the coal is burned in the furnace at very high temperatures. The heat energy is produced. Generated means produced. As a result, heat energy is generated, which converts the water in the pipes within the furnace into steam. So the water that is in the pipes inside the furnace, once the heat is generated as the coal is being burnt at very high temperatures, that converts the water in the pipes into steam. Okay, it converts that into steam. You can see the steam at the top of the furnace. Okay, so as a result, heat energy is generated, which converts the water in the pipes within the furnace into steam. So far, our process begins at coal, pulverizer, furnace, and the steam. So we have divided our process into 2 parts. The first part of the process, we describe it in body paragraph 2. And now we are going to move on to body paragraph 3 and we are going to describe the rest of the process. Now, the high pressure steam is then passed into a turbine. Okay, the high pressure steam is then passed into a turbine, causing it to rotate. To rotate means that it moves, it spins extremely quickly, okay, causing it to rotate at very high speed. So the high pressure steam is then passed into a turbine. As you can see, we have the pipe there that is coming from the furnace into the turbine, and from the turbine through the cooler back into the furnace. So the high pressure steam is then passed into a turbine. You can see the red, that is very, very, very hot water, steam, okay? Very, very hot, causing it to rotate, okay? As the high pressure steam is passed into the turbine, it makes it move round very quickly, okay? Causing it to rotate at very high speed. And as a consequence, the generator, which is attached to the turbine, so we've now finished talking about the turbine. Now we've moved on to the next part of the process, and that's we have to talk about the generator. So as a consequence of the turbine rotating very fast, the generator which is attached to it, okay, the generator which is attached to the turbine begins spinning extremely fast, okay? So the turbine is rotating, it's turning round and round very fast, and as a result of that, the generator that is attached to it, it also starts moving, spinning extremely fast, and that leads to the production of electricity. Okay, so as a consequence, the generator which is attached to the turbine begins spinning extremely fast, generating electricity, which is then, so once the turbine starts rotating, it causes the generator to also start spinning. To spin is to rotate extremely fast, and because of that, electricity is generated. So we have now talked about the generator. We have talked about the turbine. We have talked about the furnace. We have talked about the pulverizer and the coal, step by step as they appear in the diagram. Now we need to talk about the transformer. Okay, that's the next step. Now, so as a consequence, the generator, which is attached to the turbine, begins spinning extremely fast, generating electricity, which is converted into high voltage by the transformer. So the transformer has a role, and its role is to convert the electricity that is produced by the generator into very, very high voltage. Okay, as a consequence, the generator, which is attached to the turbine, begins spinning extremely fast, generating electricity, which is converted. Converted means changed. It is converted into very high voltage by the transformer. That is the role of the transformer. So very high voltage by the transformer to the power lines. Okay, so as a consequence, the generator, which is attached to the turbine, it begins spinning extremely fast, generating electricity, which is converted into high voltage by the transformer to the power lines. Okay, so what you notice then is that in order of the process, we have written about body paragraph 2 and body paragraph 3. If you look at body paragraph 3, all the words that I have in red are indicators, they are signals of every single part of the step. We began body paragraph 3 with the first word, which is call. Let's look at all the words in red. The first part of the process, call. Then the next word that is in red in body paragraph 2 is pulverizer. And then in the next sentence, I have to talk about the next word, and that is furnace. And that brings me to the end of body paragraph 2. Then in body paragraph 3, I carry on with the next word in the diagram, and that is turbine. And then I talk about the next word, that is generator. And then in the next sentence, I talk about transformer. And finally, I talk about power lines. So you have to kind of organize your ideas in steps, and just ensure that, because all the diagrams are labeled, so try and ensure that you begin with the first word in the diagram, moving from right to left. Okay, so start with call, move on to pulverizer, move on to furnace. Remember, you're describing a process. Okay, it begins with a call and it ends with a power line. So we have to go step by step, and the order in which the words in the diagram appear in your body paragraph should also reflect that particular process. Okay, power lines should not come before transformer. Okay, and you can't begin with the generator before talking about the turbine. You have to mention all the words that are in the diagram in order, because you're describing a process. So that is one of the secrets. Now, so that's how you write body paragraph 2, and that's how you write body paragraph 3. If I'm going to give you just a recap of how to figure out how to describe a process, the first thing that you have to do, read the question very carefully. Make sure you understand it. Step number 2, look at the diagram. Identify where the diagram begins and where it ends. Step 3, write numbers to show you the order in which the process happens. Call number 1, pulverizer number 2, furnace number 3, turbine number 4, generator number 5, transformer number 6, power lines number 7, and the cooler number 8. Now, in body paragraph, when we were writing the overview in the previous video, I explained how we talk about the cooler there, because remember, we in the overview, you really are supposed to give a complete summary of what the stages in the diagram. If you want to know more about that, please watch my video about how to write the overview and the introduction. Now, once you have done that, then you begin writing body paragraph 2. The first thing that you do, you divide all your steps, divide them into 2. In the first part, I only talked about call, pulverizer, and furnace. And in the next step, I talked in body paragraph 3, I talked about turbine, generator, transformer, and power lines. So divide your process into 2 and talk about the first part of the process in body paragraph 2 and the rest of the process in body paragraph 3. The other thing that is extremely important is make sure that you use your linking words. Okay, now begin body paragraph 2. For example, you can see I have used the linking words in the first instance, and then you have the next word is where. Okay, because I'm linking a lot of ideas together. Remember, this is a band 9 essay, so I have to use a lot of complex sentences. So you can see all the words that I've underlined in blue are the linking words that are linking all the ideas together and making it easier for me to describe the process from one stage to another. In the first instance, then the next one is where, as a result, then you have which, and then in body paragraph 3, you have then, and then you have as a consequence, and then you have which again and which. Okay, you are describing a process. So you have to, if you want a band 9, band 8, you have to use a lot of complex sentences. Now, if you're not familiar with complex sentences, we have 3 types of sentences in English. We have simple, compound, and complex, and we use linking words to construct those sentences. I actually have a video about that. So if you want to have a look at that video, the title of the video is the three sentences that we have in English, the 3 types of sentences that we have in English. And then the last tip that I'm going to give you is ensure that you have the vocabulary that is suitable for the diagram that we're talking about. We're talking about generation of electricity here, and all the vocabulary that you need I have put for you in bold. Okay, in body paragraph 2 you have ground, which is the past tense of grind, and it really means crushed. You have fine powder, it passes through. You notice I use a lot of phrasal verbs, passes through. Okay, ending up, burnt, high temperatures, heat energy is generated, converts, pipes, steam, high pressure steam, passed into, causing, rotate, high speed, attached to, spinning, generating, converted into high voltage. Okay, all this vocabulary is extremely important for you to be able to use vocabulary that is suitable for talking about generating electricity. I have put all the vocabulary for you in bold. You have all the connectors or the linking words I have underlined for you in blue. And then the words that will help you to describe the process, I have put all the words in red for you. Okay, now hopefully that helps to make the process clearer, but also I hope that helps you to know how to approach questions where IELTS expects you to describe a process using a diagram. Okay, now if you found this lesson helpful at all, then please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up. Share this video on all your social media platforms. Share the video with other people. I have shared this video with you, so please share the video with other people. Let other people also benefit from the video. Don't keep the channel a secret anymore. Share and let other people also learn through the channel. Okay, now above all, do not forget to subscribe to this channel. I will be uploading more videos on IELTS Writing Task 1 and Task 2, but also other videos on vocabulary, grammar, and how to speak English in different situations. So do not forget to subscribe and turn your notification button on so that when I upload a new video, you know about it. Now, thank you very much and see you in our next lesson. Bye bye.